Jai Hind dosto. This is Ananya, your master teacher at Vedantu for social science. I'm sure you guys are taking very good care of yourself. So, students, what are we going to do today? Today, I'm going to start with the explanation of your very first chapter in your geography, that is resources and development. In my last video, I just gave you a brief idea about what are we going to do in this particular chapter. But today, we will be dealing with each and everything in detail. And let me tell you guys one thing. Today there is a topic wherein students find it the most difficult to understand. But I'm going to make that topic very simple. So what is that topic? You will come to know if you watch this entire video. Cool? Yeah, one more thing guys. At the end of the session, I'm going to give you some homework questions. So make sure that you guys are giving me the answer in the comment section. Chalo, bacho, let's see what are we going to learn in this particular video. In this video, I'm going to explain you about the meaning of resources, the classification of resources, a very important topic, and we are going to understand about the development of resources. All these things I'm going to cover in this particular session. All right, let's see what are resources or what is a resource. Guys, anything which satisfy our need. Simple as that. Anything which satisfy human need, we call it as a resource. For example, this laptop is a resource. My specs are resources. My hairband is a resource. Or if we take an example of 30 rupees wala jhumka of Shilpi ma'am, so that is a resource. I hope you guys are getting it. So what are resources, guys? Everything available in our environment which can be used to satisfy our needs. That is termed as a resource. But before we declare any substance as a resource, we need to keep three things in mind. The very first thing, that resource should be technologically accessible, means we should have the technology to use that resource. Like for example, if there is coal available in Jharkhand or in Madhya Pradesh or in Chhattisgarh, so we should have the technology to extract the resources. If we do not have the technology, we cannot consider that as a resource. Clear? So we should have the technology to access the resources or assess the resources. It should be economically feasible. Now, what is economically feasible? It should be affordable. It should be affordable. Okay. So it's like we can develop a technology, but it should not be so expensive that we are not able to afford that technology. Okay. So it should be economically feasible and it should be culturally acceptable. Now, what is culturally acceptable? The people in the society should accept the use of such resources. Now, if I give you an example, like let's say there is a temple or there is a mosque or there is a church, okay, and there are lots and lots of resources which are available beneath the church or the temple or the mosque. But for that, to extract the resources, we need to remove the temple or we need to remove the church or the mosque from there. So it is not necessary that the people will accept the use of such resources. Are you guys getting it? Exactly. So, what are resources? Everything which is available in our environment and which can be used to satisfy our needs, provided it should be technologically accessible, economically feasible, and culturally acceptable. Then only we can consider that as a resource. I want you guys to pause the video and make a note of this. All right. Now, guys, there is an interdependency between the physical environment, technology, and institutions. Like how a substance is converted into a resource. Guys, human beings interact with the physical environment through technology, and technology is made in institutions. And this is how a substance is converted into resource. For example, if I give you an example of coal, okay, coal is available in Jharkhand, let's say. Okay. So we are extracting coal. So coal is related to the physical environment. Okay. So we are interacting with the physical environment. So here humans are interacting with the physical environment. Okay. So coal is available in physical environment. How we are interacting it? With the help of technology. So with the help of technology, we are going to extract the coal. This technology is made in institutions, organizations. So technology is made in or is produced in institution, and with the help of technology, we interact with the nature. And this is how we convert the substances which are available in nature into the usable form. I'm sure you guys are getting it how there is an interdependent relationship between the nature, technology, and institutions. All right, great. Now, class, we are going to understand a very, very important part from your exam point of view, from your board point of view, that is the types of resources. And remember, I told you guys at the start of the session, there is one such topic which is very, very important, and students find it very difficult to understand. So today I'm going to make that topic very simple for everyone. This is my guarantee. And no one will explain you that topic in detail. The thing which I'm going to explain you now. Now, guys, let's understand about the types of resources. So guys, resources can be classified into four major types. The very first part we are going to deal is with origin. So resources can be classified on the basis of origin, like biotic and abiotic. It is very simple. Biotic comes under living things, abiotic non-living things. So all the living things comes under biotic resources, all the non-living things comes under abiotic resources. For example, flora and fauna, plants and animals, human beings, fisheries, livestock, all these living things comes under biotic resources. On the other hand, rocks, metals, these are also resources, but they are not living. So they are non-living, that is why they are categorized under abiotic resources. Very simple. So the very first one was resources can be classified into four types. The very first one we have got is origin. In origin, it can be classified into further two types. And guys, before we move ahead, I want you guys to hit the like button without any conjuicy. I want you guys to hit the like button and also subscribe to our channel. It is absolutely free of cost. The second one we are going to understand is about exhaustibility. Resources can be classified on the basis of exhaustibility, renewable and non-renewable. So what is renewable resources? The resources which can be renewed or reproduced. Okay. The resources which can be renewed and again reproduced again and again. So that comes under renewable resources. For example, solar energy, wind energy, tidal energy, all these things comes under renewable resources. So the resources which can be renewed and reproduced with the help of physical or chemical or mechanical process, any of the process. If the resources can be renewed again and again, it is known as renewable resources. But it should be within a human lifespan. Make sure, okay? On the other hand, we have got non-renewable resource. The resources which takes millions of years for its reformation, for its reproduction. So which is more than a human lifespan, right? So the resources which takes millions of years for its formation comes under non-renewable resources. All right. So guys, on the basis of exhaustibility, resources can be classified into further two types, renewable and non-renewable resources. In non-renewable, we can add the example of fossil fuels. Okay, because it takes millions of years for its reformation. So we will consider that as a non-renewable resources. The next one, the most important one, I want you guys to concentrate 100% for this. Third type of classification of resources, that is on the basis of ownership. And let me tell you, students most of the time face difficulty in understanding national and international resources. So the students who are like attending my long-term batches, you guys are already aware. This part is quite tough to understand. Today I'm going to make it very, very simple for everyone. Don't worry. So on the basis of ownership, resources can be classified into further four types. The very first one we have got is individual resource. What are individual resource? Let's see. These are also owned privately by individual. My house, this is an individual resource. My hairband, this is an individual resource. My laptop is an individual resource. Shilpi ma'am ka 30 rupees wala jhumka is an individual resource. Okay. So what are individual resource? These are also owned privately by the individuals. I'm sure this was clear to everyone. Second one, community owned resource. Entire community, entire society is the owner of that resource. For example, if you talk about burial grounds or playgrounds or temples, hospitals, all these comes under community owned resource. Okay, so we all can assess those resources. We all can use those resources. Cool. So what is community owned resources? there are resources which are accessible or accessible to all the members of the community, like playground or burial ground, comes under community owned resource. Simple. The next and the most important one, national resources. Now, guys, practically everything within the political boundaries of a country comes under national resource. Okay. First, I will read the definition, explanation, then I will explain you everything in detail. So, I just want you to pay attention for this topic. Now, what is a national resource? All the minerals, water resources, forest, wildlife, land within the political boundaries. So, if I show you the map of India, well, this is the peninsular part of India. This is Gujarat, Maharashtra. Here we have got Goa, Karnataka, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, so on and so forth. That is the north of India. So, guys, anything which is there within the political boundaries of a country. For example, if you talk about the forest, or if you talk about wildlife, everything, or if you talk about minerals, everything within the political boundaries of a country, that is a national resource. So practically everything within the country comes under national resource. Now there is one more thing we need to add, and also the oceanic area up to 12 nautical miles, that is 22.2 kilometers, okay, from the coast, termed as territorial water. Now I want you to understand this. Make sure that you guys are watching this part. This is the most important part. Now there is a term territorial water. So all the resources within the political boundaries of a country, and also which comes under the oceanic area up to 12 nautical miles. Now, class, can you see these borders? These are territorial borders of India. Means this is a political boundary of India. This is some part of Arabian Sea. This is some part of Indian Ocean, and this is some part of Bay of Bengal. So whatever resources, be it living or non-living, all the resources within this border is also a part of India. Yes. Now are you guys able to understand? Now, how these borders are drawn, I will explain you everything in detail, because your NCRT is not giving you a detailed explanation. I will explain you each and everything. Okay. So all the minerals, water resources, forests, wildlife, land within the political boundaries and oceanic area up to 12 nautical miles. Okay. So that comes under territorial water and the property of our country. Now, guys, let me explain you what is territorial water, what is exclusive economic zone, what is contiguous zone. Each and everything I'm going to explain. Okay. So, guys, let's understand about the territorial water. Now, I will tell you guys what is territorial water. Okay, guys, with the help of this, it is clear that this is the political boundary of India, that is the mainland of India. So all the resources which are available within this is a property of country, and also up to 12 nautical miles, okay, away from the coastal area, that is also a property of our country. Now, guys, I'm going to explain you few terms. I want everyone to understand this very carefully. Now, guys, if I tell you this is the coastal area of India, okay. Now, guys, the coastal area of India is not straight, okay. If you zoom in, you will come to know it will look like this, like, once again. Yeah, yes, it will somewhat look like this. Like, okay, it is not a straight area. It is not, it is uneven. Okay. And this is how it will look like. Okay. Now, guys, first of all, we need to understand what is baseline. Each and every point I will be explaining in detail. Let's understand what is baseline. Now, guys, the outermost point of the coastal area is considered, these points are marked. The outermost point of the coastal area is marked, and a line is drawn. Yes, this line is known as baseline. What do we call it as? Baseline. I'm going to note it down. Okay. From this baseline, 12 nautical miles will be considered. Guys, what is 1 nautical mile? 1 nautical mile is equivalent to 1.852 kilometers. 1 nautical mile is equivalent to somewhere nearly 1.852 kilometers. So guys, the very first step what they do, they make a baseline. Okay, how the baseline is made, I hope this is clear. Now you will have a question. Sir, what about this area? What about the water in this area? My dear students, this is known as internal water. Internal water. Cool. So this baseline is made, and from this baseline, 12 nautical miles will be considered. Okay, let me use some other color. Yeah. From here, 12 nautical miles. So let's say, suppose this is 12 nautical miles. So guys, from coast till 12 nautical miles, whatever living, non-living, whatever type of resources, whichever type of resources are available, that is a property of our country, including the sea surface. Okay, everything within the 12 nautical miles is a property of country. I hope this is clear. And guys, this is known as territorial water. This is what we call it as territorial water. I hope this is clear to everyone. Great. Now, guys, the next one I want you to understand. Yeah, I want you to understand this map. Let's say this is the baseline of a country. From here till here, this is going to be the territorial sea. Okay, means all the things like be it a living things, be it non-living things, all the materials within this 12 nautical miles will be the property of India. Okay, no other country can exploit the resources. Cool. Next one. So guys, this 12 nautical miles is calculated from the baseline. I'm sure now you guys are aware what is the meaning of baseline, how the baseline is made. Cool. Next one, we have got this contiguous zone. This you can see contiguous zone. Guys, this is further extended to 12 miles. Okay, so if you count it from baseline, it will be 24 nautical miles. If you count it from here, it will be 12 miles. So from baseline till 24 nautical miles, it is contiguous zone. Now, guys, what is contiguous zone? Guys, in this zone, basically, let's say a ship is going to come from Australia and it is going to come to India. So when a ship is coming from Australia to India, it has to enter first contiguous zone, then territorial sea, then it can reach the coastal area of India. But before it reaches the coastal area of India or the territorial sea, the ship has to be granted permission in the contiguous zone. So various activities goes on in contiguous zone. I'm just giving you one example. So when the ship will come from Australia to India in contiguous zone, the ship will be granted permission. If the ship is going to grant, if the ship is granted permission, then only the ship will enter the territorial sea of India and then the coastal area. So here the ships will be granted permission to enter India. I'm sure you guys are getting it. You will not find the explanation of this topic anywhere in your NCRT. And the last one, we have got EEZ, Exclusive Economic Zone. Now, my dear students, let's understand about Exclusive Economic Zone. Thus, Exclusive Economic Zone from baseline, it is extended till 200 nautical miles. Now, bachcho, do not get confused. Exclusive economic zones from baseline till 200 nautical miles. Okay. Now, guys, who has the right to exploit the resources which are available in EEZ, that is exclusive economic zone? Guys, India has got the exclusive right. Now you will have a question, sir. If in territorial sea we have the exclusive right, that is a property of our country, all the resources which are available in territorial sea, that is a part of India. So why it is not included in territorial sea? Do you have this question? Okay, so let me solve this question. Thus, in exclusive economic zone, like we do not have the right on the surface of the sea. Okay, so basically ships of other countries can navigate from one place to other place from here, but they cannot exploit the resources which are available beneath the sea. So let's take an example. These are the resources which are available in exclusive economic zone. So these cannot be exploited by any other country. So within 200 nautical miles, all the resources are exploited by us. Here ships can move from one place to other place. Here ships can navigate from one place to other place, but ships cannot come in territorial borders of India, territorial sea of India, territorial water of India without taking permission from India in contiguous zone. So I'm sure now you guys are able to understand what is territorial water, what is contiguous zone, and what is exclusive economic zone. Now, guys, beyond exclusive economic zone, it is known as high sea. No country has the right to exploit the resources which are available in high sea. That is beyond 200 nautical miles. Means if we want to exploit the resources beyond 200 nautical miles, we have to take permission from some international organizations. So there are some international institutions, international organizations which grant countries the permission to exploit the resources which are available in beyond the 200 nautical miles. I want you guys to tell me in the comment section which is that organization which controls all the resources which are there beyond the 200 nautical miles of any country. So this is going to be one of your homework. I want you guys to tell me in the comment section. Plus, I hope you guys are able to understand. First of all, let me tell you, no need to remember all these things. This is just an extra thing which I said you. Okay, what you guys are supposed to remember about territorial sea. Quickly, I will give you a quick recap. Okay, first I explained you what is baseline, how the baseline is made. Let's take an example. This is the coastal area of India. The outermost points will be considered. A line will be drawn. This is going to be the baseline. This water is considered as an internal water, and from baseline till 12 nautical miles, which is nearly 22.2 kilometers. All the materials, like all the minerals, living, non-living things, all the things are a property of our country. Okay? Beyond 12 nautical miles till 24 nautical miles. Okay, this is known as contiguous zone. Here also country does lots and lots of activities. Let's not get into detail, but here I give you one example. Like if some ships are going to enter India, like from different countries, first they will be granted permission in contiguous zone, then only they can enter our territorial sea. Okay, and all the resources beyond contiguous zone starts the exclusive economic zone, which is from baseline it is extended till 200 nautical miles. Here the ships of other countries can navigate, can pass from one place to other place, they can travel from one place to other place, but they do not have the right to exploit the resources. We have the exclusive right to exploit these resources. And beyond 200 nautical miles, we have got the high sea. No country has the right, direct right, to exploit the resources which are there in high sea or beyond the 200 nautical miles. If we want to exploit those resources, we need to take permission from international institutions for the same. I'm sure, guys, you are able to understand. First of all, no one will give you the explanation of this topic in so much detail. Make sure that you guys are noting it down, okay, jotting it down in your notebooks. Cool. Chalo. Guys, let's move ahead. Now, guys, before the next part we are going to understand is about we completed, yeah. So anything which is beyond the 200 nautical miles comes under international resources. So the oceanic resources beyond 200 nautical miles of exclusive economic zone belongs to open sea, and no country has the exclusive right to exploit the resources which are there in that particular area. Okay, beyond 200 nautical miles. So in that case, we need to take permission from the international institutions. Great. So one of your homework is like you have to give me the answer of which international institution has the exclusive right, like which international institution controls the resources beyond 200 nautical miles. All right. So this was four types. Okay, status of development. No, this was regarding, yeah, ownership, individual, community, national, and international. And the last one, which we are going to understand, is about the status of development. This is also again a very important topic. The very first one we have got is potential resource. Now, I will give you a very simple example. What are potential resources? The resources which are identified, but they are not utilized. Are you understanding? The resources which are identified, yes, these are the resources which are available in this area, but we have not utilized the resources. That is known as potential. Now you will have a question, sir, if the resources are identified, why they are not utilized? Let me give you one example. Let's say if there is a disputed area. Okay, if there is a disputed area and between two countries. Okay, let's say Pakistan occupied Kashmir. This is just an example. If that is a disputed area and if there are resources available in that area, because it is a disputed area, we know resources are available. So we have identified that resources are available. but either of the country is unable to use that resource. Why? Because it is a disputed area. Pakistan cannot use those resources, nor India cannot use those resources. I hope you're understanding. So it comes under potential. We have identified, but due to various reasons, we are unable to use. It can be due to lack of technology also. It can be due to any political reason which I gave you. There are many such reasons. That is one reason I gave you. Second one, developed resources. The resources which are in use as of now. Currently, we are making the use of those resources. We know how much quantity is available. We know what is the quality of the available resources. That comes under developed resources. So guys, this was an explanation of potential resources, resources which are found in a region but have not been utilized due to various reasons. Next, I explained you about developed resources, resources which are surveyed. We know the quantity, we know the quality of the resources. That comes under developed resources. And as of now, we are making the use of those resources. If you need some example, we can take coal, petroleum, natural gas. All these are developed resources. We are making a use of these resources. All right. Next, we have got stock. Materials in environment which have the potential to satisfy human needs, but human beings do not have the appropriate technology to assess these. Are you understanding? Means we have identified the resources, but here we do not have the technology. Do not get confused with potential. Okay? So guys, in stock, what happens? We have the resources, we have identified the resources, but due to lack of technology, we are unable to make the use of these resources, which comes under stock. All right. So, as I told you, as I give the explanation in resources, the meaning of resources, definition, anything which is available in our environment and which can be used to satisfy our needs, provided it should be technologically accessible, economically feasible, and culturally acceptable. So, due to lack of technology, we are unable to use that as a resource. It will come under stock. Now, here one example is given to you, like water is a compound of hydrogen and oxygen. I am sure everyone is aware about this. If not, make sure that you contact Shilpi ma'am for the same. So, water consists of hydrogen and oxygen. Hydrogen can be used as a very rich resource of energy. It can be used as a very rich source of energy, but as of now, we do not have the know-how. Means we do not have the technology to use it as a resource. So, it will come under stock. Oh my God, so I'm able to give you an example from chemistry. So from now onwards, I'm going to teach you guys chemistry. Bye bye, Shilpi ma'am. No, guys, this is not going to happen. She will continue with the chemistry part. I know it was late. Okay. So guys, water is a compound of hydrogen and oxygen, and we know hydrogen can be used as a very rich source of energy, but as of now, we do not have the appropriate technology so that we can fully utilize it as a resource. So it will be considered as a stock. And the last one on the list we have got is reserves. The term will give you the explanation, which is reserved for the future generation. So there are some resources which are kept only for the future people, okay, for the future generation, so that we can do development in the near future also. So it comes under reserves. Okay, so these can be used for meeting future requirements. For example, river water can be used for generating hydroelectricity or hydroelectric power, but presently it is being utilized only for a limited extent. So it has been reserved for the future purpose, meeting the future requirements. So this comes under reserves. My dear students, I'm sure you guys are able to understand everything. Make sure that you guys are hitting the like button and also do let me know in the comment section if you guys are understanding each and everything or not. Okay, this will personally give me motivation. Now, guys, the next important topic before we start with the next important topic, a very important thing I want to tell you guys. Now, what is that? Guys, that is about our pro subscription plan. Guys, why you should enroll to our subscription? Let me give you some simple reason why you should enroll to our subscriptions. I know you are able to understand everything, but still I will give you some reasons why you should enroll to our sessions. First of all, as Vedantu guys, we are giving you one promise. And let me tell you guys, that promise is never given by any of the offline institute, any of the online institute. And this is the very first time Vedantu is giving you one promise. What is that promise? I will tell you after these features. First of all, if you enroll to our sessions, here you will find unlimited live classes. You can attend unlimited live classes. I'm not talking about recordings. I'm talking about unlimited live classes. Yes, which includes all the high level quizzes. So like here you wait for Menti. Over there in every session, we take lots and lots of Menti quizzes. So you can attempt unlimited live classes and also high level quizzes. While doing so, you are basically competing with the students from different parts of the world, from different countries. Because in Vedantu, students are not only from India, they are from different countries as well. So just look at your competition. Not only this, if you miss out the session due to any reason, you can watch the replays. And not one time or two times. You can watch the replays 100 times. And those are going to be interactive. Means you can actually participate in the live quizzes. You can see your name in the leaderboard. Not only this, you can download the handwritten notes of your master teacher. So the problem of notes is also solved. Not only this, class doubt solving. Are you guys able to ask me doubts over here? No. Am I able to solve your queries over here? No. But over there, if you enroll to other sessions, personally, I will be taking care of all your doubts. And you have got dedicated class teachers who will be there with you throughout the session to solve all your queries. Quality tests are taken, regular tests are taken, assignments are given to you. Not only this, if you enroll to our long-term batches, you will get an access to all the micro courses and crash courses. It is going to be absolutely free. So there are students who are paying for these micro courses and crash courses, which is going to be absolutely free for you. So are you understanding? While attending n number of classes, you're actually paying very less. You know how much you guys pay? Let me tell you. First of all, guys, how you can enroll to these sessions? The link is there in the description box. It is also pinned in the comment section, the very first comment. You can go over there, just click on the link. You will be redirected to a website and you can check out the links. I will tell you the plan, guys. You can also use my coupon code as ADPRO to get additional discount. If you want discount, you can use this code. Or else, if you don't want discount, no need to apply this code. But I believe that everybody wants discount, so you can apply this code as ADPRO to get additional discounts. Now, guys, whatever benefits I said you now, okay, whatever benefits I said you now, all those things like be it online interactive live classes, test series, notes, doubt solving, everything is available in our ProLite subscription. For the entire year, it is for just 30,499 for entire year. Okay. You can also try it for a month, which is at just 3,400. And if you apply my coupon code as ADPRO, the price will further come down. Look at without the code and with the code. Now, if you want that your doubts should be solved after the session, lectures के बाद भी आपके doubts solve होने चाहिए, then in that case you will be getting an access to doubts app. For that you can enroll to our Pro Classic subscription. ठीक है? The price for this Pro Classic subscription is just 38,999. You can also try this for 1 month. And if you want that you need a personal mentor who will be there with you throughout the year to help you with all your academic related issues, with your assignments throughout the year, then in that case you can enroll to a Pro Plus subscription. This is also available in 1 month. I hope you guys are understanding. So go there, hurry up and enroll to these sessions. My personal suggestion would be at least start from 1 month. Try for a month, get the experience, and let me tell you, you will definitely get a very good experience. You will be getting a very good experience. So try it for 1 month. If you feel that everything is going up to your expectations, you can then take our long-term courses. So this is my personal suggestion that take for 1 month. First try for 1 month. Now it's up to you if you want to take it for the entire year. Okay, great. So guys, our batches are going to start and which are already started. I am personally teaching in those batches. And guys, end of the day, what I say, the cost actually becomes zero. So whatever you are paying for light, classic, plus of a 1 month, it is actually becoming zero. Do you know why? Because you are attending unlimited micro courses. If you have an access to attend unlimited micro courses, unlimited, So, like if you are attending 200 number of classes, okay, so in a month, so the price for one lecture comes to nearly 10 rupees. If you are attending 250, 300, 400, 500, the price will further come down. So you have an access to unlimited micro courses. So guys, hurry up, go there and enroll to our sessions. Now, let me tell you guys about the promise. No online institute or no offline institute will give you this. What are we promising? If you feel that there has been no progress, we will return your fees back. And you have heard it right. अगर आपको लगता है there has been no progress, get your course fees back with no questions asked. So this is for long term. I'm sure you guys are getting it. If you guys enroll to our long term batches, this is what we are promising you. But we need a small commitment from your end. The small commitment is like you have to compulsory attend minimum 75% of the live classes and minimum 75% of the test should be completed. If still after this, if you feel that there has been no progress up to your expectations, we will return your fees back without asking any question. That is what we are promising. Plus, our batches are going to start and it is already started by the way. Make sure that you guys are enrolled into our batches and I'm personally teaching in those batches. So make sure that you guys enroll to these sessions and we will have a great time throughout the year. Great. So guys, let's go ahead with our topic that is development of resources. If you remember, till now, I gave you the explanation of the definition of resources. Then I explained you about the different types of resources. Okay, classification of resources. Now I'm going to explain you about the development of resources. So let's see guys, what is development of resources? First of all, guys, resources are depleting day by day. They are reducing day by day. Why? Due to the greed of few individuals. Due to the greedy nature of humans, the resources are depleting. They are exhausting. I'm sure you guys are getting it. So there are some major issues related to resources. Some of the major issues are, first of all, the resources are depleting. They are reducing. कम होते जा रहे हैं. Second thing, there are few resources which are only accumulated with few people. Like there are few people which have got the excess of almost all the resources. Now, guys, it is dividing the society into two parts, haves and has not, which is also known as rich and poor. Now, what is haves and has not? Guys, haves and has not was a theory which was given by Karl Marx. Karl Marx was a German philosopher. He gave the theory of haves and has not. As of now, no need to understand that part. This is just extra information which I am sharing with you. Haves and has not all a concept was given by Karl Marx. He was a German philosopher. Guys, he gave one concept, and what is the meaning of this concept? When the resources are accumulated in few hands, किसी कुछ कम लोगों के पास सारे resources होती है. When the resources are accumulated under few hands, they exploit the resources. They can take undue advantage of these resources, which gives rise to rich and poor. So the people who have got the excess of all the resources, they will be rich and they will exploit the other people, and the people can become poor. Yes. And the third one, indiscriminate exploitation of the resources. Plus, today the resources are like exploited up to a great extent. Indiscriminate exploitation of the resources is happening. And do you know what is the outcome of this? Development is not the outcome. Development is a positive outcome. What is the negative outcome? Global warming. The temperature is increasing day by day. Ozone layer is depleting. Environmental pollution. Land is degrading. So, my dear students, there are many issues which are related to resources. So, it is our duty to protect these resources. What do you think? Can you say it is our duty to protect these resources? Yes. What can be done? Plus, we have to focus on sustainable development. Now, what do we understand from sustainable development? Let's understand this concept. This is a very, very important concept, by the way. Let's understand what is sustainable development. Yes, sustainable economic development means development should take place without damaging the environment. So development should take place without damaging the environment. Global warming, increase in pollution, land degradation is basically damaging of environment, right? So we should develop in such a way, development should happen in such a way that we should not damage the environment, and development in the present should not compromise with the needs of the future generation. Means we should not exhaust all the resources in the present times. We should keep some resources as reserves for the future generation. And that is what we call it as sustainable development. So during development, when we focus on not damaging the environment or protecting the environment, at the same time, we are keeping some resources for the future needs. That concept is known as sustainable development. My dear students, I want everyone to pause the video, note down this definition. This is going to be very, very important. All right, do this work. Now, for doing so, what initiative was taken by the world? Let me tell you about the initiative which the world took. In June 1992, more than 100 heads of the states. Now, what is only 100 heads of the state? Representatives from 100 different countries. They met in Rio de Janeiro. Rio de Janeiro is in Brazil. Brazil is a country in South America. Okay. So in 1992, more than 100 representatives of 100 countries met in Rio de Janeiro in Brazil for the first International Earth Summit. So that was the first International Earth Summit. Okay. What is the meaning of International Earth Summit? There was a meeting which was conducted for the protection of the earth, how we can protect the earth. Lot of things were discussed, lot of things were debated, and lot of things were like discussed in this particular session. What was discussed, we will be understanding in this. I will explain you in this particular topic. So the summit was convened for addressing urgent problems of environmental protection and socio-economic development of the at the global level. So that this meeting had a focus on how we can protect the environment. The environment is degrading day by day, and not related to one country, but entire world is facing the problem, like global warming, which is a problem associated with the entire world. So how we can try to counter this problem, how we can try to overcome this problem. So these people met between 3rd and 4th, 14th June 1992. That was in Rio de Janeiro. Okay. Now guys, during this meeting, Agenda 21 was discussed. So every country accepted the concept of Agenda 21. Now guys, here 21 means 21st century. So guys, every country uh, accepted the concept of sustainable development in 21st century, and that agenda that we will follow sustainable development. We will not harm the environment. We will keep some resources for the future generation also. That sustainable development are a concept, and that was accepted by the countries which attended this session. This agenda came to be known as Agenda 21, which was known as 21st century. Okay, so it was also known as Earth Summit Agenda 21. What was discussed? Let me tell you. Agenda 21 is the declaration signed by the world leaders in 1992 at the United Nations Conference on Environment and Development, which took place in Rio de Janeiro in Brazil, which I already said you. What was the aim? It aims at achieving global sustainable development. It aims at sustainable development. Simple as that. Now I'm sure you guys are aware about what is sustainable development. It is an agenda to combat environmental damage, poverty. So whatever things is happening, like environment is degrading, pollution is increasing, global warming is happening. So how we can counter this problem at the national level and at world level. Everything was discussed in this Agenda 21. Okay. One major objective of Agenda 21 is every local government should draw its own Agenda 21. What do we understand from this? Every country should have their own Agenda 21. Because if we start working at our level, at country level, and if every country starts to work at their level, the environment will be protected as a whole. Now, I'm sure you guys are getting it. So, this is Agenda 21. Okay. This was decided in 1992 Earth Summit, which held in Rio de Janeiro, which is in Brazil. I already said you Brazil is in South America. I'm sure, guys, you understood each and everything, whatever I explained you today in this particular video. Make sure that you guys are hitting the like button, subscribe to our channel, and also share this video with all your friends. Okay, cool. Now, guys, this is the homework question. Now, guys, I'm going to give you some two simple questions. I want you to guys to answer these questions in the comment section. Okay, the answer for these questions in the comment section. So the very first question on your screen, the subset of a stock is, what is the subset of stock? Second, first International Earth Summit happened in year dash. That's it. So these are the two simple questions, and I want you to let me know in the comment section the answer of these two questions. I'm sure, guys, you understood this topic very well. Make sure that you guys are also enrolling to our subscription so that you can get into my long-term batches also. Okay. So thank you so much, students, for attending my session. I'll see you guys soon in my next video. Till then, take very, very good care of yourself. Bye bye. Take care. Jai Hind.